Hello everyone, I am Vanessa A. Resurin and together with Mr. Dan Carlo Ambatali, and we are going to present to you the RA 10856, and this is where the presentation begins. So RA 10856 is an act of penalizing persons driving under the influence of alcohol, dangerous drugs, and similar substances and for other purposes. And be it enacted by the Senate of the House of Representatives of the Philippines in Congress assembled. Section 1. This act shall be known as the Anti-Drunk and Drug Driving Act of 2013. Section 2. Declaration of Policy. Pursuant to the constitutional principle that recognizes the protection of life and property and the promotion of the general welfare as essential for the enjoyment of the blessing of democracy. It is hereby declared that policy of the state to ensure road safety through the observance of the citizenry of responsible and ethical driving standards. Towards this end, the state shall penalize the acts of driving under the influence of alcohol, dangerous drugs, and other intoxicating substances and shall inculcate the standards of safe driving and the benefits that may be derived from it through institutional programs and appropriate public information strategies. 3. The definition of terms at ito yung mga purposes na kailangan natin malaman at kailangan nating mapag-aralan sa batas na ito. So letter A, alcohol refers to alcoholic beverage classified into beer, wine, and distilled spirits, the consumption of which produces intoxication. Letter B, breath analyzer refers to the equipment which can determine the blood alcohol concentration level of a person through testing of his breath. Letter C, chemical tests refer to breath. Saliva, urine or blood tests to determine the blood alcohol concentration level and or positive indication of dangerous drugs and similar substances in a person's body. Letter D, dangerous drugs and other similar substances refer to drugs listed in the Schedules Annex to the 1961 Single Convention on Narcotics Drugs, as amended by the 1972 Protocol, and in the Schedules Annex to the 1971 Single Convention of Psychotropic Substances, as enumerated in each attachment, which is an integral part of Republic Act No. 9165, otherwise known as the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, and those that the board may reclassify, add to or remove from the list of dangerous drugs. Letter E. Driving under the influence of alcohol refers to the act of operating motor vehicle while the driver's blood alcohol concentration level has, after being subjected to a breath analyzer test, reached the level of intoxication as established jointly by the Department of Health, the National Police Commission, and the Department of Transportation and Communications. Letter F. Driving under the influence of dangerous drugs and other similar substances refers to the act of operating a motor vehicle while the driver, after being subjected to a confirmatory test as mandated under Republic Act No. 9165, is found to be positive for use of any dangerous drugs. Letter G. Field sobriety test refers to standardized tests to initially assess the determined intoxication, such as the horizontal gaze, the walk and turn, the one-leg stand, and other similar tests as determined jointly by the DOH, the NAPOLCOM, and the DOTC. Letter H. Motor vehicle refers to any land transportation vehicle propelled by any power other than muscular power. Letter I. Motor vehicles designed to carry hazardous materials refer to those designed to carry or transport materials which may endanger health and lives of the public. Letter J. Public utility vehicles refer to motor vehicles for hire and used to carry or transport passengers or goods. Section 4. Driver's Education. Every applicant for a motor vehicle driver's license shall complete a course of instruction that provides information on safe driving, including, but not limited to, the effects of the consumption of alcoholic beverage on the ability of a person to operate a motor vehicle, the hazards of driving under the influence of alcohol, dangerous drugs, and or other similar substances, and the penalties attached for violation thereof. Section 5. Punishable Act. It shall be unlawful for any person to drive a motor vehicle while under the influence of alcohol, dangerous drugs, and or other similar substances. Section 6. Conduct of field sobriety, chemical, and confirmatory tests. A law enforcement officer who has probable cause to believe that a person is driving under the influence of alcohol, dangerous drugs, and or other similar substances by apparent indications and manifestations, including overspeeding, weaving, lane straddling, sudden stops, swerving, poor coordination, or the evident smell of alcohol in a person's breath, or signs of use of dangerous drugs and other similar substances, shall conduct field sobriety tests. If the driver fails in the sobriety test, it shall be the duty of the law enforcement officer to implement the mandatory determination of the driver's blood alcohol concentration level through the use of the breath analyzer or similar measuring instrument. If the law enforcement officer has probable cause to believe that a person is driving under the influence of dangerous drugs and or other similar substances, it shall be the duty of the law enforcement officer to bring the driver to the nearest police station to be subjected to a drug screening test and, if necessary, a drug confirmatory test as mandated under Republic Act No. 9165. Law enforcement officers and deputized local traffic enforcement officers shall be responsible in implementing this section. Section 7. Mandatory alcohol and chemical testing of drivers involved in motor vehicular accidents. A driver of motor vehicle involved in a vehicular accident resulting in the loss of human life or physical injuries shall be subjected to chemical tests, including a drug screening test, and if necessary, a drug confirmatory test as mandated under Republic Act No. 9165 to determine the presence and or concentration of alcohol, dangerous drugs, and or similar substances in the bloodstream or body. Section 8. Refusal to subject oneself to mandatory tests. A driver of motor vehicle who refuses to undergo the mandatory field sobriety and drug test under Section 6, 7, and 15 of this Act shall be penalized by the confiscation and automatic revocation of his or her driver's license, in addition to other penalties provided herein and or other pertinent laws. Section 9. Acquisition of equipment. Within 4 months from the effectivity of this Act, the LTO and the Philippine National Police shall acquired sufficient breath analyzers and drug testing kits to be utilized by law enforcement officers and deputized local traffic enforcement officers nationwide, giving priority to areas with high reported occurrences of accidents. The process of acquiring this equipment and for the training seminars indicated in Section 10 hereof, the LTO shall utilize the Special Road Safety Fund allotted for this purpose as provided under Section 7 of Republic Act No. 8794, entitled An Act Imposing a Motor Vehicles Users Charge on Owners of All Types of Motor Vehicles and for Other Purposes. Additional, yearly appropriation for the purchase of breath analyzers and drug testing kits shall be provided annually under the General Appropriation Acts. In Section 10, Deputation, the LTO may deputize traffic enforcement officers of the PNP, the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, and cities and municipalities in order to enforce the provisions of this Act.
Section 11. Law Enforcement Officer Education. The LTO and the PNP shall conduct training seminars for their law enforcers and deputies with regards to the proper conduct of field sobriety tests and breath analyzer tests every year. Within 4 months from the effectivity of this Act, the LTO shall publish the guidelines and procedures for the proper conduct of field sobriety tests, which guidelines shall be made available to the public and made available for download through the official LTO website. Section 12. Penalties. A driver found to have been driving a motor vehicle while under the influence of alcohol, dangerous drugs, and other similar substance, as provided for under Section 5 of this Act, shall be penalized as follows. Letter A. If the violation of Section 5 did not result in physical injuries or homicide, the penalty of 3 months imprisonment and a fine ranging from 20,000 pesos to 80,000 pesos shall be imposed. Letter B. If the violation of Section 5 resulted in physical injuries, the penalty provided in the Article 263 of the Revised Penal Code or the penalty provided in the next preceding subparagraph, whichever is higher, and a fine ranging from 100,000 pesos to 200,000 pesos shall be imposed. Letter C. If the violation of Section 5 resulted in homicide, the penalty provided in Article 249 of the Revised Penal Code and a fine ranging from 300,000 pesos to 500,000 pesos shall be imposed. And letter D. The non-professional driver's license of any person found to have violated Section 5 of this Act shall also be confiscated and suspended for a period of 12 months for the first conviction and perpetually revoked for the second conviction. The professional driver's license of any person found to have violated Section 5 of this Act shall also be confiscated and perpetually revoked for the first conviction. The perpetual revocation of a driver's license shall disqualify the person from being granted any kind of driver's license thereafter. Section 13. Direct liability of operator and owner of the offending vehicle. The owner or the operator of the vehicle driven by the offender shall be directly and principally held liable together with the offender for the fine and the award against the offender for civil damages unless he or she is able to convincingly prove that he or she has exercised extraordinary diligence in the selection and supervision of his or her drivers in general and the offending driver in particular. This section shall principally apply to the owner or the operator of public utility vehicles and commercial vehicles such as delivery vans, cargo trucks, container trucks, school and company buses, hotel transports, car or vans for rent, taxi cabs, and the like. Section 14. Nationwide Information Campaign. Within 1 month from the promulgation of the implementing rules and regulations as provided under Section 17 hereof, the Philippine Information Agency, in coordination with the LTO, the local government units, and other concerned agencies, shall conduct information, education, and communication campaign for the attainment of the objective of this Act. Section 15. Nationwide Random Terminal Inspection and Quick Random Drug Tests. The LTO shall conduct random terminal inspection and quick random drug tests of public utility drivers. The cost of such tests shall be defrayed by the LTO. Section 16. Review of penalties. The LTO shall, after 5 years from the effectivity of this Act and every 5 years thereafter, review the applicability and enforcement of all foregoing precautionary penalties, and shall intimate amendment or upgrade the same as may be necessary, subject to the approval of the Secretary of the DOTC. Section 17. Implementing Rules and Regulations. The DOTC, the DOH, and the NAPOLCOM shall within 3 months from the effectivity of this Act jointly promulgate the necessary implementing rules and regulations to carry out the provision of this Act. Section 18. Separability Clause. If, for any reason, any part or provision of this Act is declared invalid, such declaration shall not affect the other provision of this Act. Section 19. Repealing Clause. Subparagraph F. Section 56, Article 1 of the Republic Act No. 4136, otherwise known as the Land Transportation and Traffic Code as amended. Subparagraph F, Section 5 of the Republic Act No. 7924, otherwise known as the Act creating the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, defining its power and function, providing funds therefore and for other purposes. Subparagraph A, Section 36 of the Republic Act No. 9165, and all other laws, orders, issuance, circulars, rules and regulation, or parts thereof, which are inconsistent with any provision of this Act, are hereby repealed or modified accordingly. Section 20. Effectivity. This Act shall take effect after 15 days from its publication in the Official Gazette or in 2 national newspapers of general circulation. I am Dan Carlo M. Ambatali, and that is our report. Thank you very much. I love you.